My name is Milena, and if you're watching this, I think you already know there's something out there, something beyond what we can explain. The paranormal, ghosts, the things that don't make sense no matter how hard you try to rationalize them. I wasn't always a ghost hunter. Honestly, a year ago I would have laughed at that title. But everything changed one night. The night my friend didn't show up. And instead of going home like any sane person would, I walked through that door alone. It started online, like most things that change your life. It started with a late night internet rabbit hole. My friend and I stumbled onto a local forum. People were writing about an abandoned house on the edge of our neighborhood, lights flickering at night, even though the place had been empty for over 20 years. Footsteps. Someone claimed they'd walked inside once and come out. Different. Wouldn't talk about what they saw. Could have been an urban legend. Probably was. But we both felt that pull. You know the one. That itch in your gut that says, you have to go see it for yourself. We agreed to meet at midnight at the gate. She wasn't there. Phone going straight to voicemail. I stood at that gate and I knew. The smart thing was to leave. Turn around. Go home. Text her tomorrow. I pushed the gate open. The smell hit me first. Dust and damp wood and something underneath. Something old in a way that has no good word for it. The floor was thick with undisturbed dust. Old furniture draped in pale white sheets like sleeping figures frozen mid-breath. Moonlight cut through cracked windows in pale silver strips across the floor. I walked slowly, phone, flashlight, told myself, 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and I leave. That's when something dropped upstairs. A smart person would have run. A smart person would have been halfway home already. I went up the stairs. Every step groaned like it was warning me. I held the railing and counted. 18 steps. On the 18th, I stopped. A dark hallway. 3 doors. 2 of them shut tight, sealed with years of neglect. But the third one? The third one had a thin line of warm light underneath it. Not moonlight. Warm. Amber. Like a candle. I looked through that door and could not believe what I was seeing. A young man sat cross-legged on the floor. Dark hair, sharp jaw, eyes closed in total concentration. In front of him, a spirit board, surrounded by a circle of burning candles. He was whispering something I couldn't make out. He was handsome. That was the first thought that entered my mind, and I'm a little embarrassed about that even now. That's when my phone buzzed. My friend, finally. He opened his eyes, turned his head, and looked directly at me. His name was David, and he told me his story right there, by candlelight, in an abandoned house, which is, now that I think about it, exactly the right place to tell a story like his. 2 years ago, his parents died in a car accident, both of them, one night. And about a week after the funeral, things started happening in his apartment. Objects moved. Lights flickered with no electrical reason. He'd wake up at 3 in the morning with the absolute certainty that someone was standing beside his bed. Most people would have called a priest. David called a library. He studied everything: paranormal research, spiritualism, communication with the deceased. He didn't want to make it stop. He wanted to understand it. And a year later, he started going to places people whispered about. Abandoned, haunted, forgotten. He came alone, looking for contact, looking for answers. When he finished, I was quiet for maybe 30 seconds. And then I said the first thing that came into my head. I said, You need a partner. He looked at me, slightly surprised, slightly amused. I kept going. I'm serious. You can't do this alone. It's not safe. And I paused. This sounds like the best adventure I've ever heard of. He smiled, slowly. And I've seen that smile many times since. Right before we walk through another dark door together. A week later, we were sitting at my place, in front of my old computer. The kind with a thick monitor and dial-up speed that makes you appreciate patience. And we made a listing. Ghost hunters. If something unexplainable is happening in your home, write to us. We'll come. We'll figure it out. David stared at the screen and said we were out of our minds. I said yes, probably. We hit publish. 3 days later, the first letter arrived. A woman, in our city. She wrote that she hadn't slept in 3 months, that her young daughter was speaking at night to someone who wasn't there, and that words had started appearing on the walls of her house. Words she hadn't written. David and I looked at each other. That was our first case.